that same time frame. So you'll race tracks where buildings collapse all around you, then maybe later on you'll race as a different character, say the reverse of the track, say at night, and all of the damage, all of the buildings that came down, all of the destruction has stayed and has actually been exploited and used by the organisers of Motorstorm to create new experiences. So we're not so much about different tracks with this game as we used to be, we're about different races, making each race as unique and distinct as possible. So that by the end of the game, that same image looks more like this. Persistence, chronology, change, progression, real key terms for us. We looked a lot at what guys were saying about Pacific Rift, about what they didn't like, and one of them was this sense that the entire experience could be a lot more satisfying. Individual races, great. The moment-to-moment stuff mentioned on the piece of paper at the start, nailed. But the entire experience needs to be much more compelling, much more rewarding, more twists and turns and surprises in store. So we're really hoping that we've nailed that. When the game ends, in an equally interactive epilogue, a massive climax, everybody's got to try and get the hell out of the city because there's going to be nothing left of it. Does everyone make it? Wait and see. Very different art style to what's previously done. These are the 3 playable characters. Mash, who's a rookie, he's new to Motorstorm. Tyler, who's been around for a while, is a fairly solid Motorstorm player, he's the kind of intermediate level. And Big Dog, the Motorstorm veteran, and one of the founders, one of the original members of the Monument Valley Motorcycle Club. Each character has a unique take, unique 48 hours in the city, and each represents a different difficulty level. So for the first time in Motorstorm, we're hoping that at one end it's going to be the most accessible version that we've made, and at the other end, the most hardcore and challenging. And we've gone for a deliberately different art style when it comes to these characters and the stories that they have. We know we're a racing game, and we know that typically when someone says we're going to do a racing game with a story, we all have every right to be terrified about such an awful prospect. So there is a very light, loose story about this time in the city. It's done in a deliberately different art style. It's kind of deliberately separated from the main game experience and is always optional. So if you are one of those players who always skips cutscenes, the option is already there in the first place. It's incorporated into the design. If you choose to watch them, they don't take any longer than the track would take to load. So we're kind of aiming for a very seamless single-player experience where you can choose how much you'd like to know about this kind of crazy subculture. These are some of the supporting characters that you'll see in some of those scenes. They've been created by a comic book artist called John Warneers, and again, they're very deliberately different. They will be essentially a kind of collectible aspect of the game, again trying to make the meta-game more exciting and thrilling and rewarding than before. When that single-player experience is done, kind of inspired by some of the best first-person shooters out there and games in other genres that are doing much better on this generation than racing games, the end of the world is really just the beginning. If you've played Motorstorm before, you'll know that we have 2 main modes, Festival and Recreation. So in this version of the game, Festival, we control a lot more and make sure that when you play it, you see all the different vehicle types and all the different tracks and really get the most out of what we're offering. And then when you switch to Recreation, you'll have been constantly unlocking new content for the Recreation mode. And it's an extremely broad and sophisticated mode. It includes, for example, our customization, which is both performance-based and visually based. Hence perks further down the list. 16 players online, the option or the ability to place wagers on the outcome of online racing. Global leaderboards, again an entirely new perk system. Downloadable content, much of which will be free to follow from launch, and our usual invasion of home with the carrier and the festival infrastructure. I'm going to pick out some highlights from Recreation and kind of show what's in store. Firstly, again, pretty much properly for the first time ever in Motorstorm, visual customization. You'll be able to create vehicles essentially from scratch, or take existing vehicles and completely redesign them. Different shapes, different vehicles in themselves, lots of different graphical elements, paint jobs, different parts like spoilers and wheels, and new windows and that kind of thing. Quite a lot of control over the way vehicles look, including the ability to scratch them or wreck them or cover them in crap, and also the ability to then share those designs via the community website with all of your friends. So you can create a team identity. If you design a livery, say for example on one of our new vehicle classes, the supercar, it will automatically work on all vehicle classes. All of the new ones, muscle cars, superbikes, sports compacts, choppers, vehicles that would traditionally work well in the city, but this isn't an ordinary city. Every other vehicle still has a fighting chance of winning. The monster trucks, the big rigs, the mud pluggers, the racing trucks, etc. Those designs will work on every one. They'll incorporate the PSN ID. So a bunch of guys, let's say guys and girls, I'm using guys in the gender non-specific way obviously. You can sit 4 of you in the living room, play 12 others online, and all share the same vehicle design and work together as a group. And then there are perks. There are upgrades to your boost, your handling and your combat. Those are the 3 overarching categories. There are 10 subcategories within each. We didn't want to do kind of vehicle tuning. We thought we'd leave that to Gran Turismo. It does it pretty damn well. And we are trying to be a much more kind of action-based racer, much more accessible. And when we looked at perks in games like Call of Duty, we kind of said, you know, that's the kind of performance tuning that's perfect for our game. So we've implemented it. Some of it takes place offline, but the majority takes place in online multiplayer. So we really do want to go for that complete multiplayer package, but within the racing genre. I don't think many games have achieved it yet in terms of long-term depth, accessibility for people who don't play online very often, but real challenges for people who do. Perhaps most excitingly for us is the ability to create modes completely from scratch, share them online, have others work on them and improve them, and if they prove to be really popular, we'll incorporate them into official tournaments alongside existing modes. So this isn't so much kind of take something like capture the flag and tweak the rules a little bit. You can do that with our existing modes if you want to, but you can also start completely from scratch, decide the victory conditions, the elimination conditions, the way that what happens in the world affects the game rules. So crossing the finish line first might not necessarily be the way that you choose to have the player win the game. As much flexibility and freedom as possible, using the same tools that we use in-house to create modes that live on the Blu-ray. So that's a quick kind of story of how we've come to make Motorstorm Apocalypse and what you can expect. As you probably saw, there's a ton of concept art. We're going to kind of figure into that kind of thing, make it available soon, as much of it as possible. Obviously, we can't do reference trips in the usual way. There aren't really cities that look like this in the real world, and if there are, it wouldn't be in the greatest taste to go around with a high-definition camera on a helicopter like we usually do. So much more reliance on conceptual work this time, which we're really excited about making available soon. And with that, we're going to play 2 tracks. So, thank you, and I'll hand you over to Rushy. Can we switch over on the big screen? I'm betting most of you have seen that one, right?
Yep.
Although it wasn't cool with that much volume in the room, which is